Testing, testing. Testing, testing. I just need to put these on that, right? Yeah. Thank you.
You're getting to be a regular expert at this, aren't you? Hi, Pat.
Hi, Ron. How have you been, Ron?
I've been good.
Good.
How about you?
Fine. Yeah.
We got our second shot March 11th, so it's been quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah. We had our second ones mid-February. And so we are good. And actually, when I think about it, almost everybody that I regularly socialize with in Zooming and all that is now ready to emerge a bit. Second shot's done 2 weeks later, kind of thing.
Right.
So it's kind of a nice thing. It's nice once in a while to just be able to talk to somebody without their mask on.
Yes. Haven't gotten to there. Haven't gotten to that because both sides of our family, they don't want to get the shot. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, my kids and spouses have all finished. And my 16-year-old granddaughter, in fact, got her first shot this week.
Wow.
Last week. So she was very excited. She's the oldest of the grandkids, and she was very excited to do it.
Well, let's see, our granddaughter is 17, but she's not in school. She's at home for school.
Yeah.
Because she's got, she's been struggling with Lyme disease for several years now.
Oh, no. Oh, that's rough.
And so there are no studies about how the vaccine affects people with Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
So my son and her won't get the shots.
Did he have it too?
Yeah, he's suffering more than she is. So it's been
That
like five
is,
years.
Hello.
Hi,
Bob.
Bob. That's rough. I can understand being cautious.
Right.
Yeah.
I decided I'd rather die from the vaccine than the virus.
You and me both.
So if I'm going to die, let's do it quick.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was a survey that came out on the email after we were done, and it asked you about, was from, I think it was from the county site, and it was asked you about, you know, did you have any side effects and what were they and all that. And then I remember the last question was, would the side effects affect your decision to get the vaccine in the future? And I wanted an answer bigger than no. I wanted one that said, not in a million years or something like that.
Right.
Did either one of you have a reaction?
I just had a sore where the shot was for maybe 24 hours.
Yeah, I was tired then this day after my second one. My husband was not feeling well at all for about 8 hours that day, and then it was gone.
Uh-huh.
I had no complaints.
No, I didn't either.
Mm-mm.
Now we just got to find out how long it's good for.
I know it. I've been helping with clinics, with vaccine clinics, and those little cards that we got, if you look at them, they give your vaccine lot number and stuff, and then it has an expiration date on. The most common question I've been getting is, does this mean it's expired by then? And I said, no, only if I'm still trying to give it is it expired. Once it's in you, no.
Plus, there's room for more shots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it. Somebody tells me I have to get back in line, I get back in line.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll probably be
Yeah.
easier too.
get out of the way.
Mhm. Yeah, I just would like life to be just a little more social and all that.
Yeah.
Hi, Lucy.
Good morning, good afternoon. I'm getting a little glare here.
Yeah, you've got the window behind you, and that.
Yeah, I know,
always
I'm trying
makes
to- Sometimes it's not too bad. Let's see if I do that. Okay, it's a little bit better.
me-
Yeah.
Maybe it was a rhyme to my head.
Angie, we see you there.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
Good.
Good,
How you
good.
doing?
I'm glad to see we're all together.
Keep moving away from the window.
Yeah, that's better, Lucy. We can
Yeah,
see your face now.
Yeah, just don't go in the closet. Shut the door.
hey, now there's a thought.
My grandkids would say, well, it's like you want the teacher not to know you're sleeping.
True.
My granddaughter never turns on the camera.
Well, in some places and with some teachers, that's a requirement, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Well, I guess at Rockford Christian, it's not.
Maybe they're really trusting there.
And they don't have a lot of people. They don't have a lot of kids at home because
Uh,
everybody else is in person. So
Mhm.
there's only a handful. And
and they probably get all her assignments and they know exactly that she's there.
yeah, she's doing really well.
That's good.
yeah, my one grandson, he wants to finish the year out. The two girls have gone back to school, but he wants to finish the year out. He says everything they do is pretty much on their Chromebooks anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. It'd be interesting to hear all their perspectives.
It is. I think in some ways, I think it's more healthy for these kids to have some time together with other kids. I think now, Ron, I sure acknowledge that your granddaughter's got a risk thing there, but my kids need to go to school.
Well,
My one granddaughter's autistic and she needs the structure.
Hmm.
She needs to be in school. It
Mhm.
wasn't working for her to do it virtually.
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear, yeah, I met with the school superintendents this morning. We're looking at putting together some guidance that regarding the kind of upcoming and because they want to bring everyone back into in person except for children with, they're calling it medical complex. And of course,
Sure.
we're trying to sorry, someone's texting,
Mhm.
but the challenge is the amount of children that are not going to make it through the year that are not meeting.
They're not going to meet their learning goals.
Right. And so, and this is, again, these are superintendents across the system, right? So you're public school. So, I'll say that, but I mean, it's frightening.
Yeah.
Well, the problem, like middle school, they don't fail people in middle school. They just pass them right on to high school. And I saw that when I was subbing in the middle school. These kids didn't care. Some, not all of them, but a lot of them did not care because they knew they would be passed on to high school.
It feels as though kids and parents ought to have a chance to just simply repeat this year, if that's what's needed. There are an awful lot of kids. I don't know Rockford's attendance statistics, but in Chicago, it seems that there are a reasonable number of kids who simply disappeared.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what's happening on some of these.
And they've talked really too as well about the teachers and the stress. I mean, the
Yeah.
impact in the remote. And most of them, I said, how do you handle, I said, how do you normally handle your in-home learning folks? And most of them are going to outsource it to home tutors and things like that. So, I think that, they've really gotten, I mean, there are kids that don't sign on during the day for the remote.
Yeah.
And it's, I think that that's going to be a big challenge, but we're trying to look at which medical conditions would warrant remote learning only, because again, they can't sustain what they've been doing from either standpoint. From the teacher perspective, they've got teachers that are leaving that can't maintain both, setups. And again, we're looking at those with severe immune system disorders that, because most of the kids that are medically fragile have returned to class. I mean, they were the first group to come back into the in-person learning environment. But the teachers,
Oops, Sandra, we lost your.
No, I think it's your
Yeah, the interference is from your side, Pat. Yeah.
Is it do you have a fan? No, your fan's not working. Yeah, whenever it's.
Yep, there it is.
I can never figure that out because it's soundless here.
Huh. Well, you're just an electric personality. That's why. And Sandra, you muted yourself there.
Is
Okay.
it any way that it could be your hearing aid devices?
I'll bet it is.
Oh, never thought of that.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think that would be different.
Yeah.
In your environment. I mean, and again, it just, they're designed to have. That's the positive side.
Could be aliens from outer space too.
Stop with the rumors on this.
Okay.
Stop with the misinformation.
We're past time starting. We have a quorum, and I know Todd and Sandra have lots and lots of work to do. So let's start the policy committee meeting for April 14th. And I need approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. All right, so we have the proposed agreement regarding permit reinstatement for backyard bar and grill. To which no one wants to speak.
And I see LaFacuria Braun is on the call with us as well. But this really came out, we had sent out, as per our last discussion, the permit reinstatement to issue the $200, or well, I shouldn't say, the fine based on the number of inspections and level of category of risk for the 22 permitted establishments for whose food permit we had suspended. And there was an outreach to the state's attorney's office for an agreement that to essentially what you see is the agreement that was developed. I stated my concerns regarding the initial agreement. Again, initially that we had waived our right in the agreement. And so I said, no, our waiver of rights needs to be put back in. And so what you see now is kind of like the amended agreement, but I'm taking it to the Board of Health. No other establishment to date has requested that. Is that correct, La Facuria, is there? Yeah, we haven't heard from anyone.
This is the only one.
All right, so I have a question about it. Is Backyard Grill only one location now, or do they still have multiple locations?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah.
All the others are somebody else or
Yeah,
closed?
the one up in Roscoe and the one in Cherry Valley. He's closed those down over the last few years.
The reason I asked is I wonder if we should have an address in there.
Oh,
I'm just asking.
What was the violation that warranted the,
Multiple violations, which they went through the whole process throughout the COVID-19 of not following the executive orders related to indoor dining. It was predominantly the indoor dining, and then they were eventually, remember, we went through multiple notices, suspensions, and then we eventually suspended their permit as we went through this policy committee on that. I have concerns about setting a precedent where we would negotiate anything with one particular entity without the others. I'm not sure if they've come back to us and in terms of coming back on whether or not that they need to have this signed, but initially their communication to Todd Marshall is they wanted some kind of an agreement that was no fault. And at this point in time, first of all, we're not really going with fault. Their permit was suspended for failure to comply. And if they wanted to reinstate their permit, they needed to pay an allocated fine, which they have paid the fine, but then they wanted a follow-up agreement. And I'll be honest, the agreement that I would want to execute with them is that they would follow all future executive orders related to, because again, I need to be able to have the tool to be able to suspend them again. They may come out of compliance. I mean, we're not, as we know, we're not really completely in phase 5 yet. We haven't gotten to the bridge, even for phase 4 to phase 5. But I'm cautious about putting forward an agreement with one entity that kind of says, everything's wiped clean. And that was the other point that I wanted to make clear, that this does not mitigate or take out their prior violations. So if they were to start back up again and do something that was out of that, we would go back in and suspend the permit once again.
I have a question on that. Now, on Valentine's Day, were they supposed to be social distancing the tables
Oh,
at
yes.
that point?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I assume
weren't.
this
Nobody's
affects
supposed to have indoor
other
dining.
businesses as well.
Pardon me?
I assume this affects other businesses as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, in the sense of others could come and ask for the same negotiated kind of agreement for each one.
But fines have been assessed to others.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. For all
Okay.
of them whose permits were suspended, they were fined based on 2 follow-up inspection reports. We were very clear in that letter. If you remember, we shared that with you. And then it depended on the category of risk.
Okay, I've been away for a while, so I think
That's okay.
I'm not caught up yet.
He's
Um,
been in Florida partying. That's why.
I have a question.
Yes.
Am I right in, now, Sandra, are you saying you are satisfied with this as it is?
My discussion was, I don't think we should sign any agreement, but I said I would take it to the board for consideration. I feel that the fine, the agreement was to pay the fine, and that was actually a settled agreement as well. I think the state's attorney had worked hard to come to that, because otherwise we would have gone through a hearing process. And so in this case scenario, we settled on a kind of a payment of fine in lieu of a hearing. And then we did not charge them for every inspection. We only charged them for 2 that we felt we would be able to validate. And I think that, again, moving forward, I'm not sure we would want to sign an agreement when they were in violation.
So they're requesting us to sign an agreement. This is not our idea.
That's correct.
So why are we doing it?
Well, I think that, first of all, they've submitted it. The state's attorney worked through it, and we said we'd bring it to the board for their consideration.
It doesn't sound like you really want to do it.
No, I think I'm pretty clear that I don't think we should be doing it for one. If you're going to do it for one, then you would have to do it and consider doing it for all. I'm not sure. The department only waives the right to pursue any enforcement reference as it relates to the notice of suspension, does not waive any future. I mean, I'm not sure what it does, but if we start down this process and having to negotiate every single one of them through the state's attorney's office when it is a violation, I'm not sure that we want to start down that path. But it
Yeah,
is,
I'm not either. I don't know how about Ms. Vaughn feels about that. But you want a stack of files on your desk?
No, I have enough files on my desk. But, I did negotiate this agreement with their attorney based on the language that we initially proposed, and even this revised language. I don't think it prohibits the county from, future enforcement action should this business be cited or be in violation of the executive order again, or things of that nature. So I don't think it has much of a effect, but the council of the business wanted some type of agreement in addition to paying the fine.
But it may be okay for this company, but like Sandra says, we could be doing this over and over and over again. I mean, we're setting a precedent for other businesses to come in and ask for something similar.
Right, so I will leave that up to the board or the policy committee. If you don't want to move forward with the agreement, that's fine.
Why don't we come up with our own agreement?
Why have an agreement?
Ms. Vaughn, why do you think the council was insisting on this?
Don't know. Initially, as Dr. Martell mentioned, he first mentioned the no fault. Well, we don't want to admit to violating the ordinance. And after we got past that part, I said, well, we're not going to have language in an agreement that says you're not at fault. So based on the language he originally proposed, I didn't think it was, detrimental to the county or anything of that nature. So then I spoke with Dr. Martell, and we provided some revised languages, which is what you've been provided this evening. And I think it's fine, but I will just leave it up to you.
What happens if we say no?
I would have to speak with the attorney, but it's my understanding he's already paid the fine, correct, Dr. Martell?
Yeah, that is correct.
So
Okay, so you don't need a hearing.
right, because he's already paid. So I don't know if he would try to argue he wants a hearing now because we don't have an agreement. I don't know. I haven't spoken with him.
Well, that only adds to the attorney fees.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? I mean, what's your pleasure?
Well,
I'll entertain a motion, but
Ron,
I'm
I'm
not
sorry,
really very comfortable.
yeah,
with
Angie.
I was muted. One question, did the place ever close? Did they ever stop doing any business?
Actually, I think our notes did say that they closed for a very short time and they reopened. I mean, with days.
Because as far as I know, they never closed.
No, exactly.
No,
There's
good either.
cat mouse kind of game. Yeah, they'd close for a day and then they'd be open. It was a trend with a lot of these places. So.
Oh, we all close on Monday and then we start again.
They're closed during the daytime, but then they open after 5, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, there are those that do that. Correct. All right.
I would.
I have the same feeling. We have an ordinance. Do we not?
a food ordinance, yes, that says that you must maintain a permit, food license.
All right, and that should stand for everything. Should it not?
There's nothing
have
going on. I don't know if you can you see us, Angie?
Yes, I see every one of you. That's the fun of this. I
Yeah,
can see.
I know. You know, you're on the beach somewhere in the south, and you don't want us to know.
Yeah, I'm taking a shower while I'm talking to all of you.
Well, I mean, if somebody wants a motion, that's fine, but you don't have to make a motion. It,
I think we should have a motion to recommend.
Okay.
I will make a motion to recommend to the board, that the committee recommends to the board, that we not do an individual agreement like this.
Second,
It's going to, doing it for one leads us into spending a lot of time and money on doing them for a lot of people. And I don't see that it buys these people a thing.
right. Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. So much for the agreement. Sorry for all your hard work.
No problem. Thank you.
Update on,
Working hard on a lot of things for us.
Yeah.
yes, update on the wrong address for Harbor Oaks variance.
If I could speak here.
Sure.
Nothing new as an update, but what I can let you know that we are meeting with the state's attorney's office, and I think the attorney
Let me
representative.
stop you 1 second, Todd.
Okay, yep.
Christine, are you telling me we forgot a second?
Seconded.
I forgot
Lucy did.
2 on that address.
Yeah, it's another 2.
Oh, okay. I saw 2 come up on my chat here, and I wasn't sure what that meant. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, Todd. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. It is actually 12220 Harbor Oaks variance, which has been on file here for a while, but really no updates that I'm aware of. But I know there's been some communication with the state's attorney. The owner is being represented by an attorney that they would like to have a discussion with us. I'm assuming it's regarding our letter that we sent,
Sure it is.
requesting some information from them, of course.
Yeah.
And I think that is finally set, Lafa, right, on next Thursday, the 22nd.
Yep.
Okay, that's where we're at. So I can't give any more details than that we are, Dr. Martell and myself will be meeting up with them or having a Zoom meeting with.
Okay. And Lapa is going to be there too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Executive session? No?
Nope, we are, I got this. We are going, sorry about that.
Whoops.
We are planning we may want to consider at the next policy committee just to kind of bring this up and kind of plant the discussion. We're getting more and more questions about vaccination of staff. And will there be a policy being issued? And so we're looking at, possibilities, what that looks like. We have not even had a chance in terms of legal consultation, but what does that mean for, similar to what we have for our influenza vaccination policy, especially as we have different programs that are requiring us to do more in-person services. So we'll probably be bringing that to the board. So just mark that on your calendar that we will most likely have a policy committee next month.
All right. Can I just throw out there for you to consider, if you think there should be a requirement for the vaccine for everybody, that you take into consideration underlying causes that haven't been investigated as to how the vaccine will affect them. In my family, it's Lyme disease, and there may be others that have not been looked into as far as the vaccine and how it affects the people. And in fact, my son has 2 doctors telling him not to get the vaccine because of his condition. So just take that into consideration when you're looking at it.
Yeah, I this is just being asked by the staff and so the managers, and we said we don't really know. We're going to need some more information. We're certainly going to need some legal counsel and guidance. There's been some differing thoughts that have come out on that. And obviously, if there's a medical contraindication, then that's an exemption. But I think that we're probably approaching some issues about when staff choose not to, which is actually, would be the next step? And I mean, how do we manage that?
Right. Okay. I see I have 5 minutes for additions, but I don't have any. Todd, yes.
Something came up that I'd like to hopefully submit to the full board, I guess, for this month. And Dr. Martell is not aware of this. I was just alerted about a variance that one of the staff members was holding on to, which I'm going to have to address internally. But I was reminded by the owner what's the results or when they're going to meet for the Board of Health, and that's triggered something which I do have something I'd like to submit for next Tuesday. I could get that out to you guys through the packet, and so you guys can look at it if that's reasonable.
Yeah, I guess so, but I really think the committee system works best for handling these first than just throwing it at the board with 19 people on the screen and all of us trying to figure it out for 20 minutes to an hour or whatever it might take. It makes the board meeting kind of cumbersome.
Understandable. That's why there's subcommittees and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, is it an emergency?
It's regarding the installation of a well when there's public water available, and it's due to financial hardship, which the internal staff right now I know is recommended denial on.
I think that we could do at the board. That might work.
I agree. It would set precedents. There's not enough information that I can make a reasonable decision on that. And again, it would set precedents for new construction. Basically what it is, it's an existing house that never had a well on the property. We have dealt with this in the past on Pine Street. That it's a shared well. The well is on another property, but he's selling both properties. So he needs to have a well on the one that did not ever have a well, but city water's right there.
Whoa.
Yeah, you got to connect.
That might not take too long.
No, actually, it's described right in our code, section 86-111. It says you are required to connect to public water.
Okay, so
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that then.
we'll plan to put that forward on the Board of Health agenda with the documents that we have. So that would be a new item for the group.
Thank
Okay.
you on that.
Yeah,
I apologize. It was an internal thing that I have to address, but
that's all right.
Ron,
Yes.
what does the title policy say in regards to that joint well? In the title of the property, what does it say that has to be done at time of, if one person has to do it, then the other person has to do it too. They can't stay on that well, or who is, there's more in the title that'll tell you what we have to do, I think.
Ms. Carl, that's a good, I'm not sure on the legal end if there's something on the deed or not. I do not know, but obviously shared wells were acceptable way back when, but not with the current code. You got to have an individual water source for each property.
I understand because I've sold properties like that. And we had to go back to the deed, see what it said. And because someone's the master of that well, and so the one guy pays the other guy for the, I've even ran into this at different places. But, and look at that aspect too of what the deed says that we have to do legally. The other.
Yeah, I do know the well is located on the other property. That's probably deemed their well, I'm assuming, so.
Well, I think they both have responsibility for it. So if one goes, they both have to go. I've had this 3 or 4 times and I can't remember how we handled it. But anyway, let's try that too and see what the deed says.
Yeah, I was going to say, we probably need to have a copy of the deed. We probably need to have a copy of the ordinance and all of that included in the packet for the board to read ahead, so that on Tuesday night, when that packet, and again, getting that packet out so they can review it before the board meeting.
I can definitely try, obtain that information. Obviously, the ordinances, I could throw that in, but yeah, copy of the deed. I'll reach out to the
Right,
owner.
and if the owner can't produce that, then it has to be delayed till next month.
Perfect. Thank you on that. But staff is interpreting a new construction when there's never been a well on the property. And we've already set that precedence on Bank Street. I know that, but
Yep.
this, yep, so, yeah, all right. That's why it's going to the board. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Yes. The wells on Samuelson with the mobile home park. Yeah, I see you smiling, Todd.
Yep, I've been here a long time, so I remember that one too.
Oh, well, now, from what I understand, is there contamination there? Is that the problem that I read? And I
Oh,
have all the addresses too. I'm sure you do too.
it's a little farther away. Well, we don't know with our area of concern, and that's going to be coming up more and more. So more details, what the impact of that contamination is. But yes, you're in the area, but not, you're still, that location is a little farther than the area of concern at this time right now.
All right. Because would that be another, what did they call it? When that whole area out there was Superfund.
Super fun
Would
site. Yeah.
Would that be, that should have been included back then in the Superfund, but it
Well,
was a home park.
yeah, the challenge, Angie, is that these are new contaminants that they can only recently have the technology to test for.
Okay.
So, and it's, and so to be clear, like this surveillance, really the nation has started a surveillance on these chemicals, the forever chemicals and things that, only recently there's no established threshold or limits. They're kind of working through that. And so this is the challenge that we're faced with. They typically are adjacent to manufacturing areas, which doesn't surprise us. They're adjacent to a Superfund cleanup site, right? Because all those issues that, contributed before are the same issues that contributed moving forward. The challenge has been the ability to test for it. And this is becoming a nationwide issue. I mean, I just got my consumer reports. I was telling Todd, lead, arsenic, and PFAS. It was all in there. I'm like, yeah, this is clearly the concern is, water is our next oil, so to speak, but looking at what we do with it. And so there are different programs related to this than there would be on a regular, like we had with the issue with Prairie Street, Prairie Road Pump, where we have issues with a well system that's just failed, right? And there's different kinds of, I'm going to say, mitigation and funding sources on these other kinds of things. And so to the owner's knowledge and to the adjacent areas as you go out and do then sentinel well sampling, is that this is a new phenomenon to test for. And so when they do the initial sampling of these community wells and they pop positive in the sense of they start detecting levels, then you have to start putting the net out further to find out how far does that go.
Well, originally, I think that was in the Superfund area too, but I don't know why they weren't included in all.
It was adjacent. It was outside of it. We did look at that, Angie, for the maps and
Outside.
How are we coming with the Prairie Hill situation?
Prairie Road.
I have not heard any news about it, so I don't know if that's good or bad, actually. So, but it's still being it's a community well, so it is officially regulated, and the authority falls on the Illinois EPA. But we have not been alerted by that agency, the state agency, or our water operator.
Okay.
Communication with on other ones, but
You don't want to poke the bear.
yeah, exactly. No
Find
news.
out what's going on.
I've always said it, no news is good news. So
Yeah.
And again, I think, but we are planning at a meeting with the chairman and the city of Rock. This is water, is going to be an issue. And so we really are talking about a more, now that there is some discussion of infrastructure dollars coming through the federal government to support this. Water's one of the areas, and wastewater, the two kind of things that are included in this, is to put together really kind of a water management plan and a future plan. Like, how do we bring some of these community wells off and come up to city water? how do we develop areas, things like that, so that they are connected? Because some of these emergency resolutions will put, something that's not sustainable over a long haul, right? I mean, that's the challenge that we have on some of these. It may be a priority in terms of chemical or whatever it is to get drinking water there, but if that's not for the whole area, like what do we do with all these private wells that are adjacent to the community well that may be exhibiting the same? So trying to put together, I'm going to say, a water management plan to better establish it. And it really does. And some of our wells, as you know, aren't even on maps because they were built before any of that. Unless they've come to have them serviced, we don't have any record of. It's to make things a little more challenging, which is what we understood when we learned with Prairie Road about, that whole area about some of the adjacent homes. Why were some on city and some had their own? And, these are the legacies of, kind of independent. And I'm going to say at that time, being able to have a private well and some people hooking up to city and other people didn't. And then having these smaller community wells that after 90 years, the homeowners association is no longer intact at the same level it was to support and maintain them. So really a lot of work to go yet, so.
I know there's a couple of community wells when you go northwest and other areas that are adjacent to Rockford, that the water is so close to them, one of these days they're going to end up having to hook up. They just can't continue to have osmosis machines put in their homes, thinking that's going to take care of it.
Yeah, and that's a shame. So all you're doing is masking it, with all these technology that continuously come out, and it's not solving our issues at all.
No.
I was surprised to see that for 60 years I was drinking lead water in Chicago.
At least you weren't drinking Lake Michigan water.
No, that is like Michigan water out in Chicago.
Yeah.
Arsenic is the other one that's a big one. You think about the concerns about arsenic in baby foods and things like that. Well, they're finding it's in water. This is the challenge. We have aging infrastructure pipes and, solders and all those things that were used to put together the systems. And as they age, they leach.
Well, 60 years of drinking lead, it sure is. That explains a lot of problems I have. Well, if there's nothing else.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm correct, right? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Hi.
right.
See you guys.
Right.
Thank
You
you
guys-
all. We'll
You too.
Here.
see the finance committee at 5:30 or what? Yeah.
All righty. Bye.
Hey, Ron,
Yes.
Ron, I ran into John Logelman because he's our alderman.
Yeah.
And he had been our rep on the board, and I told him, I says, kind of miss you on the board. And he says, well, if I get reelected, I'm going to request to come back on the board.
Well, he got reelected, didn't he?
Yeah, he got reelected, yes.
That would be very nice if he would be a replacement for one who doesn't show up.
Yeah,
But
that'd be great to have him
because he
back.
likes it. He enjoyed it.
Yes, I know. We'll talk about this. We're still
Okay.
live, so we have to be careful.
Okay.